Hi guys, for today I'm going to be showing you how to do rabbit showmanship. This is Merlin, a 2-year-old senior buck. So for age classes on showing, a senior is anything over 6 months and a junior is anything under 6 months but over 8 weeks of age. And then a buck is a boy and a doe is a girl. So rabbit showmanship is used anytime a kid shows in 4-H or in open shows. It is a tedious task of steps that goes over a full physical exam of a rabbit to make sure there's no deformities or any issues, because to be showable you have to be clear of any deformities or disqualifications. So I show for the last 7 years, I think it is, and for the last 3 years running I've been the top senior showman for rabbit and KV showmanship, and I also show the other showmans how to do it for showmanship sweepstakes, which is where if you win first in showmanship, you go and you show at the end of the week, the end of fair, and you show one of every species at fair. So you have to go through the whole week, you learn, you meet a bunch of new friends, and then they show you how to do horse, goat, sheep, all those, and then you compete at the end of fair for the senior showman and the showmanship sweepstakes winner, and that is granted at the end of fair, and you get a giant trophy that's kind of basically 4 or 5 foot tall, and it's a whole deal. Your name gets to stay in the big board in the fairgrounds, and then that's been there since I think about 1972, I believe. So it's a big deal, and so I'm going to show you how to do the rabbit showmanship for sweepstakes. So you start off by looking at the ears, and you gently bring your hand in. You don't want to touch their eye, but you want to bring it just close enough so that they blink, because you're checking for any blindness. And then you start with the ears. Always start with the ear that's towards the judge. So if you were the judge, I'm going to start on his right side. And then you pinch the base of the ear, and then you pinch the base of the other ear. Then you lift the ear up, you look down in the ear canal for any gunk, and then you also feel up the ridges. A lot of the times with rabbits in their cages, they will get their ears wet, and then they will chew kind of on the ends of their ears here, so you're feeling all the way up to make sure there's no scrapes, bites, anything missing in there. And then you go for your overall meat quality, so you just place your index finger and your thumb, and you go right down the rib cage, and you're feeling, you want to make sure that as you go down, your fingers don't stop at their hips. It's one fluid motion all the way down, and that shows that they're at an ideal weight and that they're not too skinny where your hands will stop, or if you can't feel those hips at all. And then you will pick him up, and then I always rest him on my chest. Some do it from the table, but I always feel safer. I'll put him on my chest first, and then I put my thumb behind this ear, my pointer finger right in between both of his ears, and then my middle finger behind, and then I flip him down, and then you flip to the side. Normally they sit right on the table, but for you guys to see, I'm going to hold him up, and then you look at his nose, make sure there's no, discharge, anything miscolored, or the nose is wet. That would be snuffles, which is a highly contagious disease for rabbits. And then you'll take your pointer finger and your thumb, and you're gonna peel back the front lips here, and then you push down, and then you're looking at both his front and bottom teeth, and you're looking to make sure that they are straight and that they don't have malocclusion, whereas where the teeth will go outwards or back in, or they go crooked, and then that allows for the rabbit not to be able to eat. And then it's kind of hard to diagnose unless you look at the teeth, because otherwise they might dump their food and look like they're still eating, but they're actually not. And then you'll take 2 fingers and you go right down their chest, and you're feeling for any abscesses, lumps, or bumps, anything that could be concerning. And then you get to their feet, and then they have their dew claw on the side, and then 1, 2, 3, and 4 toenails. And then you do the same for this foot, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then you'll pull the leg all the way straight to make sure that it's not broke and that everything is working right there. And then you pull that leg, and then for this one, I'm going to set him down. And then you take your hand over the belly, and you're feeling for any lumps or bumps or anything in there. And then you're going to stick your hand behind the hips and then push down, and you can see how his legs expand all the way out. And then that checks their back legs for any breaks and to make sure that the hips are still in line. And then you check their toes. They have 4 on the back, so we have 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then you're also checking the hock, which is basically like their heel. And you're checking that for any abscesses because they can get bumblefoot, which is where their feet always being on the grates of a cage can rub that raw, and then it can get infected because they'll sit there and lick at it. So we double check for those, and then we check the sex, and then you take your index finger and your middle finger and you make like scissors, and then you squeeze down his tail, and then if there is a break in the tail, you'd feel that be like a little bump or a little notch, and then you flip him back over. And then for a Holland Lop who has rollback fur, you take your hand and you go backwards, and then you let the hair fall right back to where it normally does, and you can brush it back down. And then you're also going to check the coat length. And then you flip him back, and then you repose him like you would as a show stance for a Holland Lop. That's with their front feet down here, and then you let him rest. And then if he moves, you just go back and do it again. And then he stays there, and you put your hands down to your side, and then you're done. Now the judge will ask you 2 to 3 questions depending on how you did. And sometimes it won't be till there's a tiebreaker. He will call you back up with or without a rabbit, and then you'll go through a tiebreaker where he'll go through and ask a series of questions. Any of those questions could be anything. They could be any breed, any color, different questions about eye colors, weights for different rabbit classes, because each breed is different. So they could have like a Holland Lop like him, or an English Lop that I have. He's only 2 pounds, but an English Lop, his show weighs 14 to 16 pounds. So there is a book called The Standard of Perfection, and we go through and we read that, and we make flashcards, and we study those, because those questions is the tiebreaker between winners. A lot of the times, people will know how to do the steps, but they won't know any of the questions, so we'll go through, and you both say you get both 100% on your showmanship, you didn't miss any steps, you got it all right, but then you don't know any questions. Then you could have went from being the first showman to the very last. So studying the questions is also very important. But then another thing is to always be calm, because rabbits can sense, your emotions too. So stay calm, and if the rabbit freaks out, you flip them back over, you start again, you just keep going, and to always smile at the judge and let him know that you're having fun. Those are the major tips, and those are the things that made me remember it the most. The easiest way that I remember it, even if I forget a step, is you start with the eyes, and you just work your way down the body. You're going through every body part, so always start with the eyes, and then go all the way down the body, and then you have it.